Selfie with ID?
Is that what I have to do?
I think so. Howdy.
Or should I just do the facial?
Facial.
They already have all their info. Hello, hello.
Howdy.
Hello. Trying to go live. Okay.
At a certain point, I'll pretend like people are on here because it's going to record everything anyway, and we should probably post it.
Wow, age confirmed. That was kind of... It's like, okay, look.
Damn. Ooh, all right.
Okay, sure.
What if you get $1 million just from this line? Just from the
we'll
interaction.
make a million movies. Also, I made some Egyptian tea. There's no one. Okay.
There's no one now, but in the future, there's people watching this back.
Wow, it's so messy. Okay, please enjoy.
Ooh, thank you.
Please. Okay, so...
Howdy, everyone. My name is Raymond.
And I'm Amro.
And over the next 50-ish minutes, we're going to be on live, kind of just catching up. Amro and I met in 2018 through a mutual friend while I was at AFI Conservatory, and have just become good buddies. Also a filmmaker. And in what month was it that you showed me the script? Like December? November?
November.
Yeah, like in November, Amro...
4 months. 4 months ago.
Yeah, like 4 months ago, Amro sent me the latest thing he's been working on writing-wise, and it's called Where We Will Be Tomorrow. And it's a short film script, currently 12 pages after most recent edits.
Mm-hmm.
And I read it, and naturally, well, not naturally, I read a lot of stuff, and I don't normally react too much, but it got me super emotional, and I was like, this is dope. And Amro's probably going to go find somebody to work on this with, and I'll be his cheerleader from the sidelines.
It's funny because you've known about me writing this for like a while. We never shared it, or maybe I wasn't even like serious about it because it took a while for me to like, oh, like we're gonna make a movie, because that's kind of how long it takes. It takes a while to like be like, okay, I'm committing to this, because you kind of have to commit. So, yeah, I mean, so the movie is about, it's inspired by a journey that I had before moving out to the US. I moved out to the US about 15 years ago to pursue film, and in that time I decided to leave everyone and everything just so I can pursue this dream. And I'm sure a lot of people are kind of like that, but the film's really exploring the relationship that I had with my best friend, the one that I've known since like elementary. I've known him for a very long time. So when the time came to say goodbye, and I kind of just leave everything to this new adventure and completely new reality. Yeah, I think at the time I didn't process it how much, because you're kind of always thinking that you'll be back. I think most of the time you were thinking that you'll be back, but then fast forward, you're 12, 13 years later, and you're like, oh, we actually haven't seen each other for this long. So, so that's kind of what the film came to be. Is basically just a moment of me sitting down and realizing that I am want to kind of process that really, that feeling, the feeling of jumping to this like new milestone that you kind of feel like it's granted because that's kind of the journey of life. So I kind of wanted to just pause a little bit and kind of sit in this moment for a little bit. But yeah, I think I'm gonna keep repeating the story over and over again, because the more I talk about it, the more I get to realize how like universal it is for a lot of people.
For sure. And I think for those who aren't familiar with the project, first off, there'll probably be some link somewhere if you're watching this video, and we highly recommend to check out the website. It's Kiefy Studio.
Kiefy Studio, KIEFY Studio.
/ WWWBT for where we will be tomorrow.
I wonder if we can put a comment here.
Probably.
Could I pin it?
I'm not sure. This is our first time going live on TikTok. This is my umpteenth time going live on Instagram, so I'm basically a pro. But TikTok, I'm a baby. So if you're watching us on TikTok, what's up?
What's up? Hi. Hi, Omar. Ahlan. Okay, so is in a comment. Should I pin?
Yeah.
Well, should I put the website? Okay,
yeah.
Let me just try to do that.
And while Amro is doing that, basically, if you're not familiar with the story, I think what's so great, it's also a simple story. It's kind of deals with the first breakups a lot of us have, which is with our friends. When you leave home, like Amro, when maybe you just grow out of a friendship. But it's one of our first work.
Okay, I can't pin it.
Crazy. It's one of the first times that we kind of experienced this breakup situation, and I think that's what's so awesome about the short film is seeing these two guys. They're both 18. They live in LA. They've been, friends throughout grade school, and as they're, spending time before their summer break, one of the characters tells his bestie, "I'm actually not going back to Egypt for the summer. I'm going back to Egypt for good. I'm not coming back." And these kind of like last 24 hours with these two best friends ends up being kind of this bittersweet moment of what they normally would do hanging out, but now knowing the weight of when will we see each other again. It's we're unsure. And so Amro does a really great job of just like throwing us in there. It's a very quiet film, and I think Amro's said this many times now, but in a world where like social media is so fast paced, this film really requires us to like slow down and see like all the like the small moments, the gestures, what's not being said out loud. That like even reading it in script form is so clear and vivid, his intentions. And so I read that, and after a couple combos, I was just like, if you're looking for a producer and this is a question, am I the one? Like, I'm so down. And so a big part of...
I remember this, actually. I remember when I sent you the script, and you said, yeah, I'm down to produce it. And honestly, like, you hear this often. You hear people saying, like, oh, I'm down to produce it, but then kind of, like, it's just, like, a thing that people say and then kind of never happens. But you actually insisted. You're like, okay, so we're doing this. So I remember very vividly when we were planning the actual production, we were, like, trying to put, like, things on paper, and you asked me, when do you want to shoot? I was like, oh, maybe sometime in spring. You're like, okay, when spring? I'm like, April. I was like, when April? I was like, oh, you want me a specific? So we literally just picked a weekend that we thought it was reasonable for us to kind of aim for to go for production. So I feel like that's kind of what I needed. That's that kind of the producer that I needed to kind of just actually hop in and start working. But also, I think a little background into why even I made a film like this, beside the story. I have been working in social media for a long, long time. I started out working at BuzzFeed, and then I worked in different venues and agencies and celebrities doing social media stuff. So for a long time, I spent doing a lot of short form, a lot of fast pace, a lot of things that felt like you're trying to chase the attention and retention of your content. And I think this film was a rebellion act toward making a film that actually is slow. It's a film that I'm afraid that people are not watching films anymore, or people are they don't have the attention to sit and do something for a long time. So I think that's my way of trying to participate in refixing the brain rot that is kind of happening with this new social age, right? Social media age. So
yeah, and then I want to just pause because some of y'all may not know Amro and what he's been up to, but like, and he probably won't say it, but like Amro's been killing it, like in the digital space, in the social media space. He's worked with Kelly Clarkson. He's worked with the Pinkett Smiths, the Will Smiths of the world. He's done a lot and has been of service to a lot of other people's visions, and collaborating with those folks too. It's part of your vision as well. But I think what's so dope about this project is essentially he's saying, like, I'm a filmmaker and I want to work in the narrative space, and this is what that is. And a big part of that, and a big part of why we're going live, is it does take money. It takes money. The studios, if you work in the industry, you know, not much is getting made across film and TV right now. It's a struggle, but it's also kind of like, I think for me, as someone who's also working in the industry, it feels like almost the studio system is saying we got to make our own stuff. Like they're actually telling us, and not greenlighting stories and not providing jobs. It's kind of the time for independent film, and if you look back at like the history of film and specifically, you'll see this like growth spurts and explosions of independent cinema in certain critical times, and I feel like we're gonna have that now. I think we're gonna see a lot of folks who are, working their ass off, raising funds, and playing in an independent space that are really gonna say something that maybe in the studio system wouldn't have been greenlit anyway. And so, so I'll just say that we're currently in a good old crowdfunding campaign, and we need finances to make sure that we hire the appropriate team. Yes, cowboy hat. That's my first cowboy hat. That's what I was thinking about.
Okay.
Work. We need people to support Amro's vision, so that we can hire our production designer, our DP, our grip, the whole team that makes a lot of the good stuff that we see on film and TV come together specifically for this short film.
Yeah, and especially for this film specifically, this is a film I'm using a lot of my story. I'm using my culture as a vehicle to tell the story and actually tell a story about myself. And for a long time, I think now is the time for you to start telling your stories. So writing a film that is in half in Arabic, half focuses with Egyptian cast or Egyptian dialect cast, and having a crew that is from at least with Middle Eastern background for at least the key department. Like all of these are important goals for me to sustain an actual film and actually do this whole thing with the indie film. Like the indie cinema it's one aspect is being self-funded, but it's also like it's a very community focused, right? So for them, I think that's why it's important for me to make this film the way it is, and that's why it's costing a little bit more, because we're trying to make sure that we're not cutting corners with not paying people especially in a time like this. So
for sure. And I think as someone who's not from that community that our film is centered, it's been really beautiful to see like the community come together. Mm-hmm. Like I think we launched this crowdfunding campaign about 3 weeks ago, and we had one event here in the space that we're in, which we can talk about that next. But what's been so dope is just like the like everyone's migrated from somewhere, and to see like the community come together in LA from all these different countries that relate to the film, whether it's just a friend or from similar culture upbringings. It's been already really dope to see like what happens when you build space, when you tell a story that feels like it needs to be on screen. But Amro, can you tell us a little bit about where we're at and
Yes.
whatnot?
So this is KP Studio. This is my studio I built about 4 years ago. It took different forms and shapes, but right now this is the shape it is now. It is a creative community space. I shoot my projects here. I shoot other people's projects here. I host events. I host film screenings, poetry readings, all kind of stuff that's focusing on community building, and especially SWANA and POC and queer people. So that's kind of what it has centered itself to be. So it is another extension of my storytelling. I think it's not necessarily in film form, but it is just my way of trying to build the actual roots in here. I am someone who moved to the US on my own as a first gen, no family, who kind of wanted to put my roots, and I look at this space as another way of trying to truly be in roots in this space. So to me it's a very important piece of the as a whole when it comes to like telling my own story, I think.
Yeah, it's super dope. If y'all haven't visited, definitely check out the website. There's a lot of events here that are open.
We're having late coffee house nights every Thursday. We have belly dance and depka if you guys are into learning some chill dance, cultural dances. And then obviously we're open to rental if you ever wanted to rent the space.
Yeah, so if you work in the industry and you guys are looking for a location spot, for whatever it is y'all are shooting, very likely Amro will be able to support in some way. And it's a beautiful space. It's really, really dope. We had arcade night. So in the back you can see this is new to the space. It's Mrs. Pac-Man.
Miss Pac-Man.
Foosball table. For anyone who showed up to that event, thank you so much. We appreciate it. Also, if you know Brett from AFI, he's really, really good at foosball. It's kind of ridiculous. But yeah, the space is so awesome. It's available for rent. And yeah, I guess switching gears.
I mean, I kind of want to talk about the film a little bit more. I think when it comes to making a movie, would be my 5th narrative film, short film. I've done a little bit documentary. I've done a little bit of digital content, but making this film specifically, I'm hoping to use this as a vehicle for much bigger projects, feature films, and that's aligned with the same storylines, which focuses on my experience as a queer Arab person who kind of had to do the whole migration and self-discovery on my own, using a lot of my personal relationships with queerness, as someone who's struggled with that a lot. So I'm kind of dedicating to tell stories that's always highlighting that.
Yeah, and I think what's so I think what's so there's a lot of things that are special about the script, but I think there's a common misconception that like if you are so specific in your film or TV that you're gonna lose the audience. But I think it's actually the opposite, and I think the real ones already know this. But I think the more specific you get, the more we get invested into the relationships that we're seeing, and it becomes evident when like you're watching a film or TV show. No matter race, ethnic, culture, upbringing, if you see a toxic mother-son relationship, you might be like, oh, I see that. And the dressing of it and like the character's lived experience might be different. But you know when mom's upset at you for the 100th time for not putting away your clothes. Yeah. And that covers language barriers very quickly. And so what I love about this film, that's again about the breakup of two friends, is that it's so rich with culture and specificity, but it allows us to have an entertaining story that is not just about our characters' identities. It's about again, the end of a friendship, and the specificity just makes it that much more real and lived in. Like even had I not known Amro's experience moving to the United States, like I would know that there's some truth, some realness and gravity behind this story, because I know it's coming from somewhere, and you can feel it in the writing.
Yeah, I think I'm also want to talk about how, like, there's a big part of the film takes place at LA River, and as someone who's Egyptian who grew up with the Nile as a significant piece of my an identity, I've always thought LA River was a funny looking river.
Well, can you tell us why?
Because I mean when I moved out here, I lived in Burbank, or I stayed in Burbank, so there was this like empty concrete with like a tiny river. So to me, when I hear the river, I've always associated with the Grand like Nile, right? Like that's I have no other relationship to rivers other than that, or maybe like a creek or something. But so for me, it's seeing LA River was it had two shocks. The first one, people calling it a river when it looked like that.
Yeah, sometimes the LA River doesn't have any water.
Yes, I guess, yeah. And and the second shock was only happened like a couple of years ago when I discovered there's an actual areas of the river where it's filled with life and nature and stuff like that, and immediately I realized that like, oh, I kind of want to do something in here. I think there's something metaphoric about, I mean, body of waters in general, but having something so significant to my growing experience having the Nile or whatnot, that I wanted to use this location to play another role, like another important role in this two best friends breaking up, and using the water as reference between obviously the country that they're going to the country that they live in, and yeah, so there's a lot of significance in that I'm really excited to kind of capture, and yeah, I don't know, I'm excited for to have boys experience softness in that way.
And in regards to the LA River, what I think is super dope is what like Amro just said is like captured in the film along the LA River, about this kind of connectedness that one of the characters feels to the Nile, and it reminds them of home. So it's been really exciting to see like what parts of the LA River can actually get that point across, because if you've never been to the LA River or never ran along it, a lot of it is just concrete, and like it's a dry bed sometimes throughout the year. But I love running, and I usually run along the LA River, and I'm closer to the Long Beach side of the LA River. So there are many parts of the LA River that like are intermeshed with like nature, with like they spill over to creeks and outside of the concrete area that we're most familiar with in LA proper. But there's also other parts near like going towards the valley that also have like dynamic looking spaces within the LA River. So it's been really fun as we go location scouting to see like, you know, what makes the most sense and what's visually stunning. And I think that's something else that like Amro, who's always been like very keen on like visuals, is excited to see. Buenas. Is capturing LA in a way that is real. It's like it's people's LA, but in a way that maybe is not always the focus in film. And as big as LA is, it's also like super sprawling. And as urban as LA is, it can also be quiet and small
That's
and
what I'm
intimate.
interested in. Yeah, I'm interested to kind of capture LA as an intimate place. The characters are recent high school graduates, so they're young what teens.
Yeah, teens. Yeah.
Yeah.
High school seniors.
Yeah, who are like, I think their view and their experience to the surroundings is still limited because of obviously no car, there's a lot of different things that makes you experience it differently. They're on their bikes, so I'm trying to slow down through using all of these tools, right? Like the biking and stuff like that, where you kind of have to take the time and be actually active around the surroundings. But yeah, so I think I'm really interested in how I'm going to capture the slowness of a place that a major city like LA, and not make it feel like feels like a little slice that's a little bit different.
It's been super dope, and I think people are gonna be like, "What? That's LA?" Like when they're watching the film, they're gonna be like, "Where is that? Like, what part of the LA River is that?"
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like that's LA in general. Like, LA is so huge, and it's constantly like changing. Like every neighborhood's constantly evolving or gentrifying or whatever it is that a neighborhood might be going through. And so it's like you kind of got to know where to look. Unlike New York, if you can just get on the subway and then just be landing in some space, you really have to like know where the salsa spot is at, know where the taco spot's at, know where, what's that area of the LA River that we were looking for, that type of
Soft bottoms.
You got to know where the soft bottoms are. Which is a real thing.
It is a real thing, so maybe I'll have to explain. So there are 3 areas in all of the 51 miles of LA River where they're called soft bottoms because they have inhabited some soil and plants where became a softer base.
Yeah.
So they have one in Long Beach, another in where Waters in LA area, and then in the Valley.
So stuff like that, like if you don't know where to look, fun fact. The soft bottoms are here, and there's three kinds. But yeah, no. So I think that's gonna be really special, and I think we found some spots. We're still looking for others in terms of the locations specified in the script. I thought I also want to take a moment to talk about our cinematographer.
Yes.
Okay. So can you tell us who our cinematographer is and how you connected with them? Because it was through a colleague of yours?
Mm-hmm. Our cinematographer, which I'm very, very excited to work with, would be our first time. His name is Edson Ray. He's a recommendation from a friend of mine who I really, really respect their opinion. And their work is fantastic. A big part of why we chose Edson to work with is that I'm interested in shooting on film. We're interested in shooting on film 16 millimeter. So in order to do that, we wanted to work with someone who's in some way familiar with film cameras or shot on film recently. And Edson Ray is someone who has the privilege of shooting on 16 and 35 multiple times. He's at the moment in Mexico shooting
on film.
So it's very exciting. But that's one of the major reasons. And the other thing, obviously, like the skill. But when we sat down and we talked, we both aligned with the way we want to communicate. Like playing the frame and the camera plays a big role into the storytelling for us. And it's not really about placing coverage or anything like that. We want to make sure that every frame speaks to the story and tells a little bit more to the story. So he has a deep appreciation to practical lighting. He has deep appreciation to natural lighting, which are very, very important to me when it comes to like storytelling, because I'm trying to capture a slice of life, and that also includes utilizing a lot of these elements that kind of feels coming natural, and rather than putting a lot of a lot of work into designing a mood.
Yeah, he's also worked on a ton of documentaries.
Yes, he's a documentary background.
So I think that also just like supports wanting to shoot on film. Because as much as I know there's gonna be a lot of prep in what we end up shooting.
Thank you, Angel.
Yeah. Hi, Angel. Hi, Jameson. I don't know if you're still on there. Luis, I think too. Yeah, capturing the magic moments. You know, like if there's anything that happens on set that wasn't planned. I think even on film that Edson's the type of person that would be able to like respond very quickly and get it on camera, which I think is really, really exciting.
Yeah, so cinematographer, I'm very excited to work with Edson. And I'm excited to, I mean, we're still in the casting process, and I cannot wait. Truly, I can't wait to share how we are going about casting. I think it's a very unconventional, but I think it's really exciting because I think it's part of the fun making of a film. I think it's
period.
You know, and I can't wait to really share. I mean, so we are still in the process. We are still in the casting process. So
yeah, as someone who, I mean, we're literally reading the script and then seeing it come to life with casting is super crazy. And I think the magic of, and sometimes like the unfortunate part too, but like the magic of being so culturally specific is that it requires our actors to know and speak Arabic, but the characters are also Egyptian. So, like Egyptian Arabic. And then also that they're from the community. Like we can't just half-ass cast somebody. And when the industry doesn't already support a lot of folks in these very specific communities, sometimes it seems like the talent isn't there, but we know that's not true.
That's not true. They're everywhere. I mean, we're surrounded with a lot of talented people, and I think sometimes, I mean, going live like that is another way of spreading and like letting, the chances are someone would be, you know, would DM us if he thinks it's a good fit for the film, you know. Right,
and so seeing some of that talent, and the countries that are being represented, and like the ethnicities being represented, and some of these folks that we get the chance to see, has been super dope.
Mm-hmm.
I personally have gotten emotional a couple times. Maybe I'm just an emotional person, but like when something gets me, I'm like, that's it. Or, you know, like maybe we should talk to them a little bit more.
Yeah.
So it's been so special and like really beautiful, and
it's not the typical challenge for every short film, because a lot of the times if the film is not very specific identity wise like that, it makes the pool of casting much smaller in some capacity, especially if you're looking for a specific range with the language, with the looks and all of these things. So sometimes I get jealous of when I see people like casting their film and it's like, oh, we're looking for anyone from 20 to 30. And I'm like, wow, the pool is wild.
Yeah,
I mean, that's great.
There's room for everybody. But that I think in getting closer to like knowing where we're at casting wise, it's become even that much more gratifying. And I feel like, especially for the two leads, whatever that connection Amro has to the story, whether their experience is the same or not, there's a very deep connection from a lot of the folks that we're seeing come and play the actors, which is so cool.
Because I think a lot of the people that we have casted have had experience of leaving home, whether it was recently or with the second generation. They do have an understanding and familiarity of what's it like to long for home, to miss home, to understand that, you know, migration comes with a cost, and sometimes this film is just a way for them to reconnect again with this feeling that they have with the idea of home, or even if they go back every year, even if it doesn't matter, I think it's always going to feel different for all the people who have left home to be somewhere else.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's so relatable as, you know, I've migrated within the same country, and so it's not even as big of a jump. But it's like there's this interesting thing that happens that I think the older I get, like where you come from becomes more relative. Like my roots are Mexico, but where I was born was in Glendora, California, and where I was raised was San Antonio, Texas. But like last year was the year that I've lived more in California than in Texas. So then what does it mean to be like from Texas? And like if you grow up with one family, like my Texas family, and then I'm with my California family, it's interesting how relationships change and the dynamics change and what you're tied to and who you're closest with continuously evolves. And it's bittersweet because it's like you can't capture this moment ever again. Like whatever moment you're having, you can't bottle up all however large your high school class was or your high school friend group was. So there's this like inherent nostalgia of time and place and like our sentimental value attached to those things that I think is just relatable. Like friendship is relatable. Yes. This is the climax. Brilliant. Thank you. Also, I don't know if Raiku's still here, but hi, Father. Oh yeah, if any of y'all are lingering in here and you guys have any questions, feel free to pop off in the chat. And if you're watching and you didn't hear, we are fundraising for a short film. We're shooting in April in LA with a crew of approximately 15 people. And
with a cast of 3 people.
Yes. And we're fundraising money for that. It's quite a load, and we want to shoot on film because no one's doing it like this. Because also the story is asking for it.
The story is asking for it, but also it's important to acknowledge that film really gets a lot of support from film. Like they are encouraging a lot of filmmakers to use film because it is a challenge to use film. It is not just because it is film, and if it's accessible, a lot of people wouldn't go through the challenge of shooting on film. But it is an intimate thing. It's a part of the process. I am someone who went to school, and I got the privilege of shooting on film multiple times. I have about 3 undergrad school projects who was shot on 16. So I had the privilege of putting my hands in and loading the film myself and all of these things. So I think for me, it's an important thing to have in a film. Obviously, also to use it as a tool to highlight nostalgia, to highlight familiarity, to highlight certain crispness and warmth that comes only with film, to be honest.
Can you talk about where'd you study? Mm-hmm. And also, like, you kind of already touched on it, but like, why Los Angeles? Why not New York? Why not another major city that has film and TV culture?
Okay, so I moved out here in 2010 to pursue film, and I went to New York Film Academy. I got my bachelor degree in film and fine arts, and I have always loved film. I've been making film since I was 16. What was your second question?
Yeah, how's your experience in undergrad? You were able to shoot on film?
Yes, I got to make about I got to shoot on film on 3 different occasions for 3 different school projects. I had my thesis. Also, all of my films have always reflected this.
Spill the tea. I think they said that a long time ago, but I'm screaming.
I know. Annie, I love you. I mean, we're spilling the tea right now.
Period. Yeah.
Right now. Cheers.
Cheers. So you're saying?
Yeah. No. I wanted to make. I moved to LA and never left. really is kind of, that's the reason why I'm also shooting in LA, is because it is became my home. I am someone who was born and raised in Abu Dhabi, but I have lived as an Egyptian man with Egyptian family and Egyptian culture and Egyptian movies and Egyptian food. And even though like my relationship have always been feeling misplaced, because I always felt like I was you're born as an immigrant, and especially it's very different than being born in the US, because you do kind of, there's some sort of a path to citizenship. However, in the Middle East you can live 30, 40, 50 years and there's no grant the minute you're only living as a sponsored by your job, by your family's job. So you are a second citizen because of the fact that you can be born and raised in a country like the Emirates, and there's no guarantee of citizenship path. So by the time everything, when if things don't work out, you just wrap up and leave. So that disruption kind of happens. So I've always kind of felt like there is that sense of eventually we'll have to go back to Egypt, but because no matter how much time you've spent in a country that you call home, it's not your home.
Out of curiosity, are there a lot of folks that are there folks close to you who've had that experience where they're literally born elsewhere, or they're immigrated somewhere else and they have to return home after a
most people most people who chose the Gulf as the place of to find a better life, they have no guarantee of, they've all gone back to their land.
Yeah.
So I think because of that, my relationship with migration has always kind of, and home have always kind of had a much deeper feeling for me, because it's a quite weird experience actually, because now everything that has existed before moving here does not exist. Like my home that I grew up in and everything, so there's no reference to it except the videos and the pictures that I have. So there's a lot of nostalgia lives with my stories whenever it comes to telling stories, because I think a lot of the times that's how I process a lot of the different things. But yeah, I think for me, this is why my experience from being born and raised in Abu Dhabi to being an Egyptian person to be living in the US now has always been kind of a really confusing experience, because it is my home, it's not necessarily my home. And that's why there's another reason why I have a space like this, because that's kind of another attempt at, because what makes home is the people in it. So a lot of the times that's kind of what the space represents. It's a lot of the people that look like me, feel like me, who found home in here. So.
Yeah, and I was curious, like, I mean, I've never really thought about asking you this, because I don't immediately think about it. To me, like, I read the script and every character is kind of you, and in a way, like, it is to me, as someone reading. But in this casting process, how are you feeling? Like, does one character feel more like you? Are you seeing reflections of yourself? Like, how does that feel? Does that, you know what I mean? Like, does it bring up any sort of feelings specifically?
So the two characters, Yusuf and Malik, both are inspired by the duality of me as a Gemini person. It literally is that it's a person who, I mean, these two characters explore friendship, masculinity, boyhood, explores queerness in a light that's very different than the one that you would, if I say the word queer or gay or whatever, you maybe something comes to mind, but I'm more interested in a moment where it's still an internal experience, right? It's a transitional experience. So that's kind of the part where I took for me to and gave it to Yusuf as a character. But then the part of the adventure who wants to go out and do these things and travel and do these old experiences. I'm not afraid from the unknown, and kind of there's a certain view of life where things are just gonna already like to take on these experiences, and that part I gave to Malik for someone who is very excited to kind of pursue his dream.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I feel that. I
Yeah.
feel that in those characters. What I love, so Yusuf seems to be grappling with his sexuality in some way. But another thing that I just feel like the script, and I think we'll see when you have a cut of the film, that you as a filmmaker, you're just like making really mature and intentional choices. And like in the story, it's very evident if you're reading it that the character is grappling with their sexuality. There's a question in the film where the character actually explicitly asks. But the film is, again, so not about that. And it just adds this like richness of like, here's the story. You might feel familiar about leaving home, about losing your friend. But there's all these other factors at play. And so it's really nice to have what on paper or you know, maybe after watching the film you'll see like a very queer coded character, but the film's not about them like
it's not a love story. It's not a romantic. Yeah, it's a film. Honestly, just it's a very character driven film about someone who is having really difficult time accepting this new reality, and by making it difficult is literally just ignoring what it is and just being present, right? And then being hit with this reality that, hey, you're my best friend and you're leaving, and somehow queerness becomes this like thing that ties them even deeper at the time where they're going to be separated. Like they kind of all of a sudden become much closer because now one person knows something about the other person that maybe they haven't known, but it's only being revealed as they leave. And I think it's to me, this whole idea. I mean, we can talk about like different experiences for queer people and how everyone had like found some sort of a safe circle that you found, like maybe you have a friend or two that you were able to explore safety with, like when you were younger, before even questioning things. I think my part of the thing that I'm really excited, or I'm always like intrigued about when it comes to storytelling, is that there's always something between, and that lingering part. I'm always curious about the lingering part. Like it's not about me. I'm queer or I'm not queer. It's about in that in between where someone is allowed to maybe ask or allowed to question it. I think there's something about this, especially at the times where you're not allowed to even do that.
Right.
Because you kind of are always forced to do that. So.
Yeah, and I think to what you're saying too, it's like, which, again, everyone watching a movie or TV show these days is super mature and they understand, but it is open-ended. You're not telling the viewers how things go. You can infer you have enough context clues.
Similar to, I use Past Lives. If you haven't seen it, it's one of my recently like favorite films, and I watched it recently in a plane, and I cried in the plane, and that's embarrassing. Don't cry in the planes. But no, I think part of like the Past Life, for example, is a film that does really good job having that linger part, like between the relationship, because you want it to work out. You want things to feel a certain way, but that's kind of what I'm hoping the film really delivers in the end, is that just because you want it doesn't mean it makes sense.
Yeah, and so y'all, we're rounding out the last 3 minutes of our first ever live.
And I'm going to be going live, honestly, more often. I don't know. I think I kind of want to. I kind of like that.
Yeah. So if you're on Instagram and you're still on TikTok, follow Amro Helmi.
Peter, hello Peter.
He'll be going live on TikTok for these next few weeks because we need to get this money. We need to make this film.
We need to make this film.
We need to make this film.
Please consider exploring the website. I want to also talk about the website. You guys, I built the whole website because I wanted to actually take the time to share a little bit of the vision and the view and the style and the voice and of the whole experience. So when you go into the page, which is kfi.studio/WWWBT, and it's in my
that website I think is just like the perfect example of just how much of commitment and priority visuals are for Amro, because that thing is beautiful. We purposely did not go on any of the crowdfunding websites, and there was a financial reason, but there was also a visual reason, and that was because Amro really wanted to give you the feeling of the movie as you're on our website, and so even if you can't donate right now, please share, repost,
and please consider going to my TikTok and give it a follow, because I am trying to put a link in my bio, and TikTok does not allow a link in bio unless you have 1,000 followers, and I'm only 100 away from reaching that.
So please hit the follow button.
Hit the follow button on TikTok. I do not have Instagram, but you can follow the Instagram film page, which is WWWBT tomorrow.
Yes. And it's Valentine's Day, so after you hit the follow button, grab your partner's phone, get their face recognition, and then also hit the follow button there too. And once he gets 1,000 followers on TikTok, we can add the link to get folks to very quickly donate. Any amount is fabulous.
And I am also posting a whole series on TikTok where if you're interested in Egyptian cinema in any way, I am making a list of Egyptian films where my favorite Egyptian films. So if you're interested in learning more about Egyptian cinema in any way, I think it's a beautiful cinema. I grew up watching it. It shaped a lot of the way I make films. So if you're interested in that, it's all in TikTok.
Potentially coming to our Instagram for where we will be tomorrow.
If we start posting them.
But if you want jumpstart TikTok. Is there anything else we should leave on before we close it up for today?
I mean, I would hope you guys go and check it out and read the passion behind the story, learn about what how it came to be, and every support matters. So truly thank you so much for even sticking around and watching this first live that we're gonna be doing more, and we promised that we will be going shirtless.
Yeah,
wow,
so
the views are going up.
Yeah, as you know, we're artists committed to our craft,
yes.
And if we need to be shirtless,
that's what you're gonna do.
We will do what we have.
If that's
to
what
do.
you guys want to see, and you don't watch the film, you want
to watch. But homie, I feel like is like jacked. Like homie actually works out.
So
we'll give you a scope. Yeah.
This will be an enactment from a shirtless scene.
Okay. But yeah, thank you all for those who came in throughout any of the chat. We really appreciate you. And for anyone else out there doing the thing and making film, kudos. That's like, let's go.
Because this is crazy.
Yeah.
So be proud of the commitment and stay committed, and find people to support you.
Later, y'all.
Peace out.